One of the central themes we are hearing echoed throughout Governor Malloy's town hall meetings, not only from the governor but also from the crowds, is about the need to cut back and consolidate government. Yet this session, a bill to create a new Department of Early Education and Child Development, apart from the Department of Education, has support from educators and business leaders. Here to talk about the bill and its mission, State Senator Beth Bayh and Sid Oppenheimer. She's a senior policy fellow at Connecticut Voices for Children. Thanks both of you for being here.
Sure, happy to be here.
Senator, I'll let you tee this off because you were kind enough to send in some graphs that you think kind of depict the situation in terms of the many groups that handle early childhood education at this point.
Yeah, right now it's just a mishmash of departments managing early childhood education in Connecticut. There are different departments that support and regulate and other departments that fund, and probably all told it's like 8 different agencies, all with their own administrations overseeing early childhood. So what we're talking about is really a consolidation of functions into a department, but with the goal of cost savings and effective leadership.
But even, and we were talking before the show, as soon as you mention a new department, the buzzword nowadays is consolidation. So people are going to say, but can't you just streamline it? Can't you just make it more efficient without having, someone to coordinate it, another manager, another level of management?
I think what we need is someone to be held accountable. We've spent almost $1 billion in Connecticut in the past 14 years on early childhood, but with 6 agencies with a role, nobody's responsible. I'm saying take the administration of those particular parts of those agencies out, save staff people, and put it into one effective department that's looking at goals for children and outcomes, so we'd no longer have the biggest achievement gap in the nation.
And Sid, if you could chime in and tell me why you think that this will be more effective.
Well, right now we have, as Beth said, these different agencies who have multiple funding streams, they have multiple reporting requirements, different ways of access for parents. So it's very hard for parents to know where to go, what programs they're eligible for. It's very hard for providers to figure out what requirements they need to meet, all the paperwork that they have to do, and how many funding streams they have to cobble together so they can fully fund one high-quality spot for a child. What we're talking about is fixing this from the top down. So we're talking about at the top of from the agency perspective, you blend and braid your state and federal funds so you have one check that goes to providers. You have one place that parents can go to find out what they're eligible for and to get into that slot. And you have one across the board quality rating system so that you know what quality the program is and you make sure that you maintain it. And then you have the data you collect so you can assess if these programs are doing what we want them to do, which is to make sure that children are ready for kindergarten and are having success beyond in 3rd grade, in 7th grade, and graduating from high school. Right now, we don't have those statistics. The Department of Education has been asking for 7 years for a longitudinal study to see what our school readiness programs are doing. What's happening to those kids? Are they in fact benefiting? We haven't collected that data. We haven't analyzed that data.
Is that because it's too many different places to gather from?
No one's ultimately responsible right now because there's so many agencies. So we just haven't done it because no one's responsible. For me, it's sort of like what's going on in higher education as we consolidate that. We have a lot of really high-quality administrators doing their best in the system, but they're coming from all different systems. There's no one in charge to say, why are we spending so much on remediation, and how can that work with our high schools? There's no one in charge.
And I would say that even within departments, you don't have the kind of accountability that you need. So within the State Department of Education, for example, you should be able to assess the effect of school readiness, which is a program that operates within the State Department of Education. Yeah. But what you have these 2 different data collection systems. One is called the PKIS, Pre-K Identifier System, collects data on kids who are in preschools that are not within the public schools. The other is the PSIS, Public School Identifier System, collects data on kids K through 12 and on preschoolers who are within the public schools. Yeah. Well, they should look alike, right? So you should collect the same data on both, so you can compare and analyze from both systems. They look totally different.
Yeah, we're really wasting state resources right now with so many duplicative functions in different departments.
But you're going to have to, there on the floor, convince your peers that you're going to be able to do this. Is it going to mean more people? Or are you going to be able to use the people that you already have? Or?
Oh, I think that there'll be less people working in administration and more dollars going to slots for children so they have high-quality settings, and more dollars going to developing a quality rating system so when parents go to look for a center, they say, oh, this is a 3-star center or this is a 2-star center. You know, that's the dollars will be used for that kind of thing, for consumer information and for driving quality.
And this was, is this modeled after something in Massachusetts?
Yes, this is modeled after the Massachusetts system, which has been really effective. So instead of someone just coming in to regulate you for health, they're coming in and helping with literacy too. So it's putting all the state resources toward goals to help children be ready for school.
So what will the pushback be that you face? Is it because people won't acknowledge that it is a consolidation?
I think that's part of it, but I think people are going to get on board and support this idea. I mean, we're going to continue. It's going to continue to evolve. I think everybody's on board with a coordinated system. I mean, CBIA testified in favor of this. They're not looking to add departments, but they are looking to close the achievement gap and make sure that we have a workforce that's ready to work when they get out of school, and that's a real problem in Connecticut. So they see early childhood as one of the keys, and we need a functional system with a plan and outcome goals.
Yes, and if you could talk a little bit more about what the long-term benefit is, you think, of consolidation.
Well, you know, the long-term benefits really have to do with the long-term benefits of early care and education. And we know what those are because there have been studies, not necessarily in Connecticut, but studies that have looked at high-quality early care and education programs, looking at children 0 to 5, and what outcomes do they have? Reduced rates of special education, reduced retention rates, higher graduation rates, higher workforce earnings, lower involvement in the juvenile justice system and in incarceration long-term. We're talking about ultimately a more ready workforce and lower costs to the K-12 system.
Mm-hmm. I know, and I think that you're going to have a tough fight ahead of you because at these town hall meetings, I'll tell you, people constantly talk about the layers of management and the layers of people coordinating things, and for you to clarify that, I think will be your task. Will be your main
challenge,
task.
Is to make this clear that we're trying to
people agree
save
with the mission,
the mess.
I would think.
We're trying to save the mess. Everyone agrees that we need high-quality early childhood, but I think everyone would agree that we need less bureaucracy and more dollars going to quality and serving more children, and that's what this bill's goal is.
And I think if you talk to providers, especially child care providers, what they'll tell you is that right now there's so much bureaucracy, and that they agree, they are on board with this bill because they see it as making a whole lot less bureaucracy.
Yeah, and the small businesses have to fill out all this paperwork. We're building on a public-private system. We're not talking about some big public system, but we want a system that works for our small businesses. We have how many? 10,000 people working in early childhood, at least in Connecticut.
More like 20,000.
More like 20,000. So dealing with this paperwork from 5 different agencies, it's just not functioning for those small businesses.
All right. Well, glad you came. I know the governor is committed to education, but it's a tough year to get anything new into the budget, and we wish you good luck.
Right. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks very much. Now, don't forget, if you missed something here on The Real Story, you can now watch it online by going to ctnow.com. You can also catch us on YouTube. Thanks for watching this week's edition of The Real Story. We'll see you here again next week.